Welcome to the Hall of Fame podcast, brought to you by One Truck America. That's onetruck.us. Check us out. We are one of the fastest growing online transportation magazines in the U.S. We are over 120,000 views and continue to grow. We're up 100% versus last year, so check it out. But with that said, as always, the Hall of Fame, we like to get right into a quick industry update prior to going into the podcast. What's going on in the industry? A lot of uncertainty. The tariffs. Tariffs have thrown us into some uncertainty because of the lack of imports, exports, and things of that nature not being moved by trucks. Now, keep in mind, we're still in what I call the Great Freight Depression, which started around 2023 into 2024 and moving to 2025, which we expected a recovery. Now, the tariffs have affected that drastically. Now, I'm going to give you an example. Let's just take China. China having a tariffs of, I think, 135 or 145%. I'm not really sure, somewhere in that range. So you're not having a lot of the imports have fallen off to the port of LA. So if you're a dray carrier in LA, you're having a problem because you're not seeing the volumes, and you'll continue not to see the volumes until they have rectified the deal. Now, all the other countries, there's the EU, England, and so forth, there are deals on the table. We're going to get to a deal, and I expect that deal in the next 90 days, and that will normalize transportation. Now, you saw a huge push in January and February numbers, and people are like, oh man, we're back. No, you're not. That were people buying ahead of the tariffs, just in case the tariffs came in and lasted for a while, they would have supply. So there's a lot of stuff sitting in the warehouse here that came from overseas that they're sitting on because they don't want to be caught paying some of these absorbent tariffs numbers. So as you can see, if you look at like the early April numbers, it would have dropped. So by the time this airs, there should be some articles out there that's going to talk about tonnage. So we do an article once a month that talks about tonnage, that's total freight hauled in the U.S., and we also do one tonnage in Canada and spot rates in Canada. It does a mixture of both. That comes out every month. You just need to look for it, along with the many other articles that are out there. So wait for the tariffs to calm down. I'll be able to give you a better idea of what I think that the recovery will be as we get towards the end of the year. So that's really the idea of what's going on now. I know it's not great news. I know some people are struggling right now. I know there's a lot of companies going out of business. We posted an article about the closures of all truck companies, over like 200 trucks, and it was just eye-opening. But hopefully these tariff deals settle soon. I don't know about China, and that will bring some normalcy back. And then from there, I think we can grow out of it. We're a very resilient industry. With that said, it's the first time I haven't worn a One Truck America or Hall of Fame podcast shirt. I'm wearing a Syracuse NIL shirt. I don't know if you guys can see it, Syracuse NIL. This is from Grace Finnegan. She runs on our cross-country team and track team. And I've been buying some of their gear to support them. As you know, NIL, if I buy the gear, then she gets some of those funds. So I thought it was great for me to do that to help to support the program. And I bought from about 6 other athletes. I'll try to wear them from time to time. If you're interested in helping Syracuse University, my alumni, then you can always just Google Syracuse NIL athletes. And you can pull up and you can pick the athletes you want to support and buy a gear. So you're not just giving them money, you're getting something in return. This is a very nice hoodie, very comfortable. So if you want to help, that would be great. But with that said, let's get into the episode, and welcome to the Hall of Fame. Welcome to the Hall of Fame podcast, brought to you by One Truck America. That's onetruck.us. Today we have Connixt, and we have Satish from Connixt here. We're going to talk about maintenance and automation of maintenance and tracking and all those things that I think has been introduced a lot in the past 5 years, and it also improve your maintenance costs. Try that your maintenance is done at the right time. But rather than me tell you, I'm going to have him tell you a little about what they do. Then we're going to talk about the space as a whole. So Satish, it's over to you. Tell me a little about Connixt and tell me a little about the space.
Hey, thanks, Ken. Really appreciate the opportunity. Again, my name is Satish. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO at Connixt. We're focused on making life easy for mechanics, technicians, safety, and compliance folks. I mean, that's in a nutshell what we do. And the way we do this is we digitize and automate all of the inspections and the maintenance, all of the paperwork associated with that out on the shop floors. So pretty much anything that happens outside of the back office, in the workshops, out on the road, we digitize and automate that. We use mobile apps that work on any standard smartphone or tablet. So that's what we do, Ken.
Okay, interesting. So give me an idea. So let's say let's just start with, let's say, 100 truck carrier comes to you. I have 100 trucks running regionally around the Midwest. I'm doing my DVIRs, my inspections, all by paper today, and I have a guy in a spreadsheet tracking. This is my 12 month of my trailer inspection. And things of that nature. Talk to me. What would you say to that person? That's what our audience. What would you say to that person that you could improve for him from Excel spreadsheet to paper, tracking these things manually? What would you say to that person?
Great question. So the way we actually would work is essentially first the technicians and mechanics, they get automated reminders, notifications saying that, hey, this vehicle is due for a 12K inspection, 20K, or a DOT inspection, whatever.
Okay.
Not only that, when I'm the mechanic and I log into the Connixt app, it basically says, here are the 15 things you need to work on today. Not only will it tell me that I have to do the 20K inspection on this vehicle, it will also pull up the appropriate form and the checklist and all of the things I need to complete the work right there. Now,
Okay.
imagine without this, what I'd be doing is, waiting for someone to print all of this stuff out and give it to me. I walk up to the vehicle, complete the inspection, walk back in there, enter the data into a system or write up a report. Essentially, we all talk of wrench time, right? I mean, I'm not doing the things I'm supposed to be doing. I'm actually doing a bunch of paperwork.
Yes.
So what we do is we digitize all of this. And so all of this information is completed on the smartphone or the tablet. And now if you have a backend, record keeping system, it could be a maintenance system, it could be anything. We update the information back there. And we actually auto-generate PDF formatted reports that you can use to submit to the DOT or you can use for your own records. On top of that, if your drivers need to carry this stuff on the field, we auto-create that. It's emailed to them. They can have it handy. They can print it out, keep it saved on a file. The key is really we're eliminating all of the manual work, all of the overtime work, all of the stuff that mechanics hate doing.
Okay. All right. So when you go out and you talk to some of these companies as you're onboarding people, what are they telling you is their number one struggle in maintenance? What are you hearing from the people on the ground?
Oh, this is something that is consistent across all of the folks that we talk to, large, small, mid-size. One is there has been a general increase in labor and parts cost. So those expenses have been going up. Shortage of skilled technicians. I mean, these are sort of the two of the biggest things. The third factor we see is keeping up with compliance, right? There are changing regulations, between states, between countries, across borders. So these are kind of the biggest challenges that we keep hearing from them. So the idea is really how do they balance maintenance cost and schedules and avoid unplanned downtime, right? And this is the problem across the board.
All right. So Timmy, so you get to your companies. How do you tell them? So I get it where we have mechanics doing less paperwork and obviously paying a guy now. I mean, you talk about a truck mechanic could be for $40 an hour knows to do paperwork is not smart. So how else can technology itself that you're kicking, or in general, anyone in the industry providing it, help that shop? What else can you say? Anything else it provides them other than what you've stated so far?
So one of the big things is really let's look at moving beyond simply the basics of, I'll replace your paperwork, I'll replace your data entry.
Yeah.
We can eliminate, errors. Was that a zero or an O? Did we miss a decimal point there? I mean, this is standard stuff, Ken. I'm sure you've seen this 100 times.
Yes.
So let's just look beyond this, right?
That's the basic stuff. Sorry, we look past.
That's the basic stuff.
All right, yeah.
Absolutely.
Tell me about the value add.
The value add. So one of the most critical things we've seen across the board, again, with a lot of our customers, is that they're seeing no less than about 20% efficiency gains, right? So think about that for a second. If you have a 5-person crew,
Yeah.
in theory,
You gain a
you should
person.
be
Yeah.
basically 10%. Exactly.
Gain a
Now,
person.
I also flip that around, right?
Yeah.
If you're using the old methods, your 5-person crews are acting like a 4-person crew. So
Okay.
this is basically there is actual math. There are gains to be made on that. How can you make your crew more efficient? The
Okay.
second part of this is, Ken, you know this as well as I do. There is an aging workforce. Folks are rotating out of the industry. How do you capture the knowledge? How do you transfer that to the younger crop of folks that are walking in or that are trying to figure out, is this a career for me? Is this something I want to do? Two things, right? One, transfer of knowledge. I know all this stuff here, but I'm retiring and I'm walking out. I'm off to Hawaii. So where is this stuff? It's all gone. But the second factor is also the newer generation of workers are even less interested in looking at paper, in walking around with clipboards. They are more interested in smartphones and tablets and digital, right? They're more ready for it than ever before. How do you
Yeah.
attract and retain this workforce? How do you train them and hang on to them? We've seen study after study say that there is a general move towards businesses that provide the right tools and the technology, and there is a greater preference for that, right? So it's just
Yeah.
above and beyond merely eliminating paper and making things more efficient. We're looking at the long-term impact on the industry. That
No,
makes sense.
that makes sense. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I understand when you onboard anyone from this generation, where they're 22, 23, and you tell them to fill out a clipboard, they were like, what?
Yeah.
So I get that. Now, on the flip side of that, do you get any pushback from your agent mechanics that are not smartphone, that may not be great at a smartphone or the app? How are those people dealing with the change? Because change is always hard, especially I know for truck drivers. When we put tablets in their trucks, I mean they had like an onboard computer before, but it wasn't as functional as the tablet. It took quite a bit of training and retraining, just because these guys are in their 50s, they're going to 60s and not as willing. So how is that working out for you, that part of it?
So great question, Ken, and it is a real issue. And I don't want to sort of, walk over this and say, well, hey, it's all a matter of change. People got to get used to it. It's not a fact. So a couple of things here. One, for us specifically, right? Technology software does not fail because it doesn't work. It actually always fails because people can't use it. It is too hard to use. I don't want to use this. Think of the number of apps, Ken, we've seen over the last 15 years that I'm not talking about work. I'm talking about in our personal lives, apps that we've used once and said, well, I'm never going to use that again.
Yeah.
The reason is it becomes too hard to use. I'm a fantastic mechanic. I'm just not going to become an IT technician that needs to have greater expertise to use something. Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
So for us specifically, we have this commitment to making life easier. Remember, that's where I started my conversation, right?
Yes, you
We
did.
are committed to that. We do want to make it easy. But take a step back, right? Think about all the other apps, personal lives that any of us uses. In no instance did we ever download an app and then also download a manual about how to use it. Think about that for a second.
Right? We do, yes.
All of the most popular social media apps, pretty much anything we use, we just download it. It is intuitive. It is something we can use. It works for us. It adds value, or maybe it doesn't. We just become addicted to it, right? It doesn't matter. But the key here is that make it easy.
Yeah.
But what we've always done, what we've completely focused on is, one, make it easy for them to use, make it intuitive. And simply because it is business related, it doesn't have to become more complex. So that's really been our focus. We have customers across multiple industries, including trucking, but in public transit, with public agencies and all of that. And over, our adoption rates have been at near 100%. And once they start using this, it's very hard to tell them, you know what, don't use this anymore, go back to paper. They don't want to do that.
I love it. All right, talk to me about optimizing your maintenance spend. All right, so you look at a trucking company, and depends on the age of their fleet, your maintenance could average anywhere from 5 to 8% off your revenue, roughly, on a normal trucking companies. So tell me how you optimize that spend. Is that software optimizing spend, and how do I use that spend then to improve and cut my costs? Because at the end of the day, everything but the profit is a cost. So how do I cut that cost and move it to the bottom line?
No, that's excellent, right? So there's only two reasons people should buy software. One, it cuts costs. Two, it automates compliance. And again, therefore reduces fines, cuts costs, right? I mean,
Yes.
it all boils back down to the same thing.
Yeah.
And there's third, of course, sustainability. Who wants to print, thousands of sheets of paper and put them somewhere and then never go back and look at them. So the first part to this, in the industry, we've always talked about predictive versus reactive maintenance. Catch the issues early, right? It saves you thousands of dollars. If you had a fleet of your 100 trucks, 15 of them, show up with an engine code, right? That's a fault code. What do you do with that information? It's the fact is the information is there. We're able to grab that information, create work requests based on rules that you set, saying that, hey, if these following three things happen, I want to pull this out. The next time this truck pulls in for a service, I also want to check these 5 other things, right?
Okay.
So one, as things happen, your asset is basically telling you, your truck or your trailer is basically telling you, hey, I need this maintenance to be done. So let's listen to the assets, right? There are sensors, there are, telematics devices on all of these vehicles, right? So let's listen to them and schedule maintenance appropriately. So that is this aspect of predictive versus reactive maintenance. I mean, there's tons of material.
Okay.
Let's use that to schedule smarter maintenance, reduce waste. And the last thing, Ken,
Go ahead.
the number of times we have mechanics waiting for parts, right? Hey, I need this.
That's big.
I can't close this unless this particular thing is done. We're able to help with that too, right? You can see what is available on hand, schedule well ahead of time so that it's available. And when you do pull in for service, not only you can finish what you're supposed to do, maybe these 3 other things that are meant to be done next week, also get it done today because the parts are available, wrap it up today.
Wait a minute. Let's dig into that. I like that. So you're telling me, so let me give you an example. You bring in, well, I don't know how people code it. We used to call them B services every 90 days. Every company has another name for it. Call it whatever you want. So those services come in, your natural, your oil change, so forth. But we know that we have, let's say, a nagging issue with X or Y, and the drivers would annotate those things, So I said, hey, if it's not something to stop the truck from running, let's do it when you do your service. Okay, so let's annotate those things. So you're telling me you take those notes that they're, where they say this is squeaking, my seat squeaking, it's not a safety issue, so forth. And it tells you to order the parts. So by the time I show up for my B service, I get it all done. Because the biggest issue we'd have is the guy would show up, he does B service, but then he has to replace the squeaky seat, and there's not a seat there because he doesn't enter that document until he shows up for the B service. So there's a way to enter that prior to that 90-day, whatever you call it. I call it a B service. Whatever that 90-day service is, or 60 days, however you do it, based on miles, you're able to order that ahead of time? Is that what you're telling me?
100%.
Okay.
So there are 2 things here to keep in mind, right?
Sure.
So one, let's look at the standard world as it applies, right? People write up notes, they call in and say, hey, my seat is squeaky.
Yes.
It's driving me crazy, 8 hours, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Now, what happens to that? It gets written up somewhere. It, God forbid, the sheet of paper falls down somewhere. It's lost forever. We're able to actually capture that information digitally, and it does not disappear unless someone actually goes and closes it, or somebody says, hey, it's not valid anymore because we checked, the seat is fine. So who checked when, where, what, all of that is up. More importantly, we're actually trying to move away from folks writing stuff down. I don't know about your handwriting, Ken. Mine is terrible.
Horrible. Horrible.
So,
you couldn't read if I wrote something down right now. Like, go ahead.
I can't read my own stuff. So,
Okay. All right.
But see, what we're doing is we are enabling speech to text. So people speak into that and say notes. And guess what? When people speak to their devices, they are a lot more descriptive. They're saying, hey, when I go in this particular location at this temperature, here's the noise I'm hearing. And can this get fixed? So all of this is digitally available. It is saved. They can create a work order or a task request on that basis. And guess what? A year from now, I can still go and search through all the notes because guess what? It is all digital to say, hey, how many of my drivers actually complained of squeaky seats? And
Yeah.
how long did it take for this to get fixed?
Yeah.
Valuable management information. I mean, if they so want to check that out, right?
No, I like it. I like it. I think, the reason I brought it up, that's always been an issue. You have to realize when you roll the truck in the bay to work on it, we would tell them if it's not a safety related issue that you need today, wait for your B service. So we just tally those things up. But what was never done is we wrote it down, but we didn't tell the maintenance guy till he shows up, which I think was a little crazy because he may not have a seat in. If the seat's the problem, he may not. The seatbelt is coming loose. That would be a safety issue. So let's not use that. But you know what my example is? They wouldn't know until it shows up. And the problem is the idea is if the truck's sitting in the maintenance bay, it's not making any money. And your metric is revenue per truck per day. So if you have 30 days and it's sitting there for 10 days, your revenue per truck is dog crap. Okay. So I think those things are important. So, all right. I love that. All right. I got one more for you. Tell me where you see 5 years from now with AI and all the things, the future of maintenance. Obviously, someone said, let's turn the wrench. But tell me what that looks like to you.
So in general, right, we see the biggest benefits coming when we are able to automate or digitize things that are manual, and as a result of being manual, are prone to error, right? Yep. Remember what I said, is that a 0 or an O, missing this bit of information? That's the first thing. The second is also in being able to see things that we would not be able to see even if we processed manually. Let me give you an example, right?
Yes.
So when I consume parts, I need to place a reorder, right? Because I've now run short, I've fallen below my minimum quantities, my minimum level on hand, I need to place an order. Great, I keep placing orders, the system can even digitize that. But what if the rate at which I'm running out of parts is actually accelerating, right? So these are patterns, right? And nobody's out there sitting at a desk saying, well, let me just look for patterns for the last 6 months. A, too time consuming, and B, even if I had all the time in the world, I can't see it, right? Because we're just not equipped to do that because I'm putting out fires here. I'm not trying to step back and gather 6 months of information and trying to evaluate or come up with a pattern. AI can help with things there. It can look at patterns and say, well, wait a minute, we're seeing, you're placing more frequent reorders on this part, and review this and see if you can actually readjust the reorder points, or maybe there is something going on. This new brand of tractors you have actually consuming XYZ component faster than it used to be before. So this is valuable insight that we would not otherwise have access to. So where we, again, end of the day, how useful is this back to the mechanic or the technician, back to the manager of maintenance?
It's very useful.
This is really where we are most focused on. Yeah. We think if I'm pulling up the work order for a particular, tractor, it should say, hey, we actually saw that a year ago, somebody complained about this, that is still open. Can you go and check this out? This is valuable stuff. Yeah. It's not abstract things which talk about, hey, it's not going to turn a wrench. Yeah. It can actually help you turn it more efficiently. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. Wow, this is great stuff, man. Listen, this was amazing. I think people in my fleets that listen will be very, very caught. I think this adds, I think the one thing with the trucking industry I'd like to get before I close is we're such a paper industry when it comes to bill of ladings, to this, to that. And automation is always going to save you time so that the mechanic that's making $4 an hour can turn a wrench. You don't have to hire someone to crunch data. And you say, if the guy keeping inventory and parts, he says, I was told to keep 10 of these. Yeah. And we'll keep running out. He's never going to say, man, look at the pattern. We probably should keep 15. So if you can feed the inventory, you can keep your inventory leaner, and inventory is prepaid thing. So the leaner it is, the better it is for us. If I know what my lead time is, the leaner it is, the better. And Walmart used things like that for a while. So great. So in closing, I would love you to just give me a closing about you, your company, or anything you'd like to say, because this is a great discussion. So go ahead. Take it away.
Hey, thanks again, Ken, for the opportunity. Enjoyed talking to you and to your audience. So one, we're seeing a continued shift towards adopting technology that makes sense, that makes life easier for mechanics and technicians, and that's all we are about. No matter what language, no matter what location, and no matter what asset, how old, how new it is. I think there is place for technology that can actually help make life easier for the mechanic, the technician, as well as the folks in safety and compliance. Love this conversation, Ken. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Satish, from the CEO of Connixt. Thank you for coming on, and welcome finally to the Hall of Fame. Have a great day.
Thank you. Glad to be here.